Hello, everybody. It looks like I am live. Of course, in the corner it's telling me I'm going live, but I'm pretty sure I'm live. Hello, hello, hello. You are all very welcome to Wednesday's live call inside the Facebook group Map Your Future ABA, the place where we go from A to B and then decide we're going to go for a bigger and brighter A. Later, this call will also be on my YouTube channel, Map Your Future 25. And if you're watching on YouTube, do hit the subscribe button now so you never miss any of the upcoming episodes. Anyway, you're all very welcome to today's call. So, following up from the last few weeks where I shared paradigms, what they are, where they came from, how to identify and change them, today I'm going to talk about the two known ways to change the paradigm: an emotional impact and constant, continuous, spaced repetition. I'm going to do that in a bit more depth today. Now, just before I do that, I would really appreciate it if everybody could take a few moments and invite maybe two or three people that you know that would really benefit from the content that I share in Map Your Future and invite them to come along with us. I really want to get this information out to as many like minded people as possible, as I know deep down it really does change people's lives when you apply it. So, back to the day. So the last while we've been talking about the paradigm, what is it, where it came from, and how to change it. And we did that over the last 3 weeks. And I would really encourage you to watch those videos a number of times, as many times as you possibly can. So to quickly recap, the paradigm is a mental program that runs in the subconscious mind. It's where all your habits, your beliefs, and your behaviors are all stored up. Okay? It's responsible for your habitual behavior, and nearly all behavior is habitual. It was created partially by genetics. So a little particle of mom and a little particle of dad came together. Okay, and in 280 days, you made your grand debut. So you're half your mom, half your dad. That's the genetic conditioning. Okay, but the great deal of it, um, a great deal of it went in and happened what was repeatedly going on around you in your environment when you were a baby, all the way up to the time that you developed your conscious mind. And that's what's known as environmental conditioning. And that's where the vast majority of the conditioning comes from. Now, you're not responsible for creating your paradigm. You're really not, okay? You're not responsible for the cards you were dealt, but you are responsible for how you're going to play them. And last week, then, I took you through an exercise on how to uncover the paradigms, the hidden paradigms that are stopping you. These are things that are in the way, they're barriers to your success. Now, these have been running the show since, well, since you were a toddler, and we can be completely unaware of so many of them. So their ideas, their values, their rules, their beliefs that were all dropped into the subconscious mind when we were so very young, before we had a conscious mind. So the four-step process, let me recap on that for you now as well, because I don't think you could hear this too often, right? Step one is write down the thing, the goal, the dream, that challenge that you haven't yet resolved in your life. And you write that out, and you write it out in detail. And then you take the core of that and you put it onto a blank piece of paper right in the center. Okay. And you do that. And then you write down every single association that pops up in your mind relating to that thing. Okay. The good and the bad. And it's got to be both. It's got to be good and bad. And you've got to be honest with yourself for this exercise to work. Because if you're not honest with yourself, you are not going to uncover the belief that's keeping you stuck, the paradigm that is stopping you getting what you want. So then step three is addressing the paradigm. You address what came up for you in the previous step. Okay. So what came up for you is your paradigm. You're able to see it in black and white when you do this exercise. And then that needs to be reevaluated. Okay. So you zero in on the one or two, and only one or two, because when you try to change everything, you'll change nothing and you'll end up being overwhelmed. But you zero in on the one or two paradigms, the ones that you know are the most negative, that are holding you back the most. And you evaluate them. You ask, why do I think like this? Where did this come from? Where did I get such an idea? Did somebody say something to me when I was very, very small? And questions like and like. Then, when you're aware of the two, maximum two, one or two most negative paradigms, you go to step four and you use the law of polarity, the law of opposites. Remember, something can't exist unless there's an opposite. You can't have an in without an out, up, down, hot, cold. If something is bad, there must be something that's opposite to it that's good. Okay? And you create an affirmation that will assist you in reprogramming your mind. Something that is the opposite of the negative one that you've just uncovered. And you let the negative one go. You stop putting thoughts, you stop putting energy into the negative one. And I showed you how to do that in detail last week. Okay. And I would really recommend that you watch that loads and loads of times. Repetition really is the mother of success. Now, so far as we know, there are only two ways. There are only two ways to change the paradigm: emotional impacts and spaced repetition. And I got some questions regarding that, okay? Now, all the questions that I got were pretty much the same. So I condensed them into these two questions, which I'm going to answer live in the next couple of minutes, okay? The first one is, why can't I just get an emotional impact so I can instantly change just like that? Well, emotional impacts will make you change just like that. Unfortunately, though, they're usually negative, and you don't really want to do it that way. And I'll explain more about that now in a couple of seconds, right? And then two, do I really have to repeat the same things to change? And if so, how long do I have to do that? Or how long will that take? So let me start with emotional impacts first. Okay. This is when something hits you so hard that you're never the same again. And this can be physical, it can be mental, and it's pretty much always emotional. Okay. Now, before I go into this, I want to be clear: I am not a psychiatrist, I am not a psychologist, and this information cannot be viewed as an alternative to therapy. So, should you require something like that, make sure you do seek the proper professional help and advice. Okay. What I'm going to share with you is why you really don't want emotional impacts changing your paradigm, because in the main, they're negative. They can be positive, like, for example, a lottery win, but they're usually negative. They shock you and your nervous system. Okay. So let me share some things around shock. So, shock and trauma are synonyms. And I found this online on Psychologically Today that I wanted to share with you when I was researching this myself. So, what is trauma? The word trauma literally means wound, shock, or injury. Psychological trauma is a person's experience of emotional distress resulting from an event that overwhelms the capacity to emotionally digest it. Okay? I guarantee you some things like that happen to some of us when we're very young, when we're children, when we have no ability to really look at it critically. The precipitating event, and that may be a one time occurrence or a series of occurrences perceived as serious, harmful, or life threatening to oneself or loved ones. Now, people process experiences differently, and not everybody has the same reaction to any event. So that's why people can go and watch a movie and the exact same movie and have completely different experiences of watching the exact same thing. We are all different. What one person experiences as trauma may not distress the other person in any way, shape, or form. Now, traumatic experiences, they undermine a person's sense of safety in the world, and they can create that catastrophe can strike at any time in their mind, right? And this comes down like to parental loss in childhood, car accidents, physical violence, sexual assault, military combat experience, earthquakes, the unexpected loss of a loved one, any sudden violent disruption are events that can lead to trauma. And things that scare us on a deep level create trauma as well. Now, people, they typically replay the experience in their mind over and over and continually think about what happened. The experience intends to leads to changes in the brain function and marked by a hypersensitivity to threats. Okay, so this is what happens. People end up being very aware or overly aware or overly sensitive to potential threats. It kicks in our fight or flight response all the time. And this they can experience additional stress levels all of the time. Now, children and adults are susceptible to trauma, shock, fear, anger, sadness, difficulty in concentrating, and a sense of helplessness are common features of the immediate trauma response. Children may suddenly develop behavioral problems and exhibit clinginess. Now, based on a survey of nearly 70,000 adults in 24 countries, the World Mental Health Survey Consortium found that 70% of adults have had at least one experience of trauma in their life. That means 7 out of 10 people have had some trauma. That's a whole lot of people. That's the vast majority of people. In children, the number is just as high as at 67%. Okay? Now, these, of course, are based on reported findings. It could be higher. It could be lower, of course. These things are always susceptible for a bit of up, but it seems bloody high to me. Now, much of these things, these traumatic experiences can seem as normal to a degree, especially when you're an adult. And you might not even affect some things that happened to you when you were a kid, affected you so deeply. Okay. And that's the hidden nature of some beliefs, some core beliefs, beliefs that you're not even consciously aware of, that you've long forgotten them. You've long forgotten the original cause, but you have suppressed it over years. Negative beliefs can be locked in from an emotional shock, an emotional impact at the time. So something happened, bang, belief is locked in. Could have been when the time you were 4 or 5. And if you're 40 or 50 or 60, that could be 40, 45, 50 years ago. Okay. And these beliefs, these things that are underlying, they may never be evaluated and they can still cause issues for people today. So let me share a simple example. Okay. A parent may have or a caregiver or a guardian or somebody in a position of authority may have screamed at you, shouted at you, called you some nasty names after you made a mistake, and may have even given you a slap. You could have burned something or broken something, something really simple that any kid could do. And that triggered a reaction from the parent, the caregiver, the guardian, who then shouted at you and scared you as a kid. Now, as an adult, that mightn't seem like a big deal, but it was a huge deal to you when you at the time when you were a small child. It was a massive deal. This person that you trusted overstepped a boundary. You couldn't emotionally deal with it at the time. It was traumatic for you, so you suppressed it, but it became a belief. Okay? Emotional impacts, they can be positive, but 99 times out of 100, they're negative. Now, you may have some beliefs that were caused by similar emotional impacts. The exercise I shared earlier and in depth last week will help you to uncover those and to replace them. But if you feel intense discomfort around that, I would suggest you do contact a professional dealing in such matters. Okay. So that's the question one. That's one way to change the paradigm is through an emotional shock, an emotional impact. It's not the way I would recommend to change a paradigm because of its nature. It's pretty impossible to orchestrate it. And as said, it can be positive, but it's usually negative. All right. Now, the other way, which is the only known controlled way to change the paradigm, is the consistent spaced repetition of new ideas. And when you fully understand that, it can change your life. So let me answer the second question. Do you really have to repeat the same things to change, and how long does that take? The quick answer, the short answer is yes, you do. If you really want to change and you want your results in your life to change, you will have to use the principle of repetition. You are programmed. You have a paradigm. I shared it over the last few weeks. Some of it was created through DNA, and most of it was through the environment you experience, especially when you were a young kid. This is where all the beliefs, the values, the rules, ideas were loaded up into the subconscious mind, and much of that was done through constant spaced repetition at a time when you couldn't say whether you wanted it or you didn't want it. Okay? So things like learning how to stand and take your first steps, and learning how to eat, and learning how to talk, and how to play, and all those good things. And of course, then things for 7 out of 10 of us went right in from emotional impact, shock, or trauma. So these things have been rolling around for years, and it does require some continuous effort, sometimes some repetition to change it. So we do need to read the same thing, write the same things, imagine the same things, visualize the same things, uncover and evaluate beliefs, and then replace those beliefs with new ones and affirm them over and over and over and over again until the old belief is gone and the new belief is solid. How long does that take? I can't answer that for you. How long is a piece of string? Some people can accept the idea instantly. I know I wasn't one of them. I've had to work a long way to accept some of the beliefs that I have now today. But you can accept an idea instantly if you really choose to. I've yet to manage that, I must admit. So, but I know it's possible. But I've no idea really how long it's going to take any human being to do this. But what I can tell you though is when you keep doing it, and you keep doing it until you feel it in every part of your being, then you know you believe it because how you feel has changed. And when how you feel has changed, so does your behavior. You see, until you believe in something, the changes won't happen. Some people, they do need help with this. I know I did. I didn't believe in me. I had to borrow belief uh, from my mentor. I believed in his belief in this stuff, but I didn't believe in myself. But eventually, I did start believing that things were possible. And by following what he told me, I started to believe in myself. And that's how I'm here today talking about this stuff, because I was able to develop belief. We can develop belief. You most certainly can. Now, how I did this was in the main read the same things, write the same thing, visual the same thing, act like the person I wanted to become over and over, and take action in spite of being afraid. Repetition is vital to your success. Now, I want to be clear here, right? The hero of this story is repetition. When you repeat things over and over and over again, you slowly start to change your thinking. Okay? You first start with, this isn't possible. This won't work. This is a lot of BS. And you keep going and you keep going. Then after a while, okay, this could be possible. Then after a while, you start to think, this is possible. Then after a while, you start to think, this is possible, and it's possible for me too. And then you start to believe it's possible, and you start to feel different. When that happens, you start to behave different, and that's when the results change. You first have to think different, then you feel different. When you feel different, you act and behave different. When you do those three things, you send an energy out to the world. That energy sends a reaction back. That creates your results. The circumstances, the conditions, the environment. But it all starts with how you think, feel, and act. And that starts with belief. Now, this is not an instant fix. I do not have a pill to give you where you can swallow and everything is hunky dory. This does take work. Some of you may need some help with this. But I'd also encourage you, don't look for the instant fix. You could waste years on looking for them, putting time and energy and effort into the instant fixes to realize that they don't work and they were always too good to be true. Decide what you want, work on what you want, repeat it over and over and over, remove the beliefs that you need, plant the new beliefs that you want to have, and work on it. And when you do that, you will definitely change your life. That's it for today, folks. Now, I want to take a moment and I would really, really encourage you all. Do watch these videos that I've done over the last few weeks on paradigms, beliefs, and changing beliefs. Okay. I would encourage you to watch them as many times as you can. The more you understand what a paradigm is, where it comes from, how to uncover underlying beliefs, the easier it's going to be for you to change your paradigm. But know this now, the only control way to change a paradigm is through constant spaced repetition. That's it. Anybody telling you it's another way to do it is actually probably lying. Now, if you have any questions about today's call or any of the content that I share in Map Your Future ABA or on Map Your Future 25, you can email me at abeale, that's abeale, at anthonybeale.ie. So that's abeale at anthonybeale.ie. And if you want to know more about how you can work with me, you can book in for a discovery call. I'll pop a link below for the discovery call in the comments. The discovery call is where we chat about you. We discuss what you're currently doing, what your goals are, the improvements you want to make, and what needs to change for those things to happen in your life. Now, there's one last thing I'm going to share with you before I wrap up. Tip the Balance is my new event that I've taken on board all the feedback that I've received from some of you guys, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. With the feedback that people were so kind to give me. And I created this event to help you make a breakthrough now. And that's why I've called it Tip the Balance, Make Your Breakthrough. And you see, you can make a breakthrough now, okay? And you can have some things in place to make 2025 your best year ever. And I'm going to pop a link below for that in the comment section too. And if you're watching the replay on YouTube, please take note of the date. Today is Wednesday, the 13th of November. This event starts Monday, the 25th of November at 7 p.m. GMP, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific, and I said GMT, so 7 o'clock GMT, Greenwich, Dublin, London, all those good places. And the space for the live talks is limited. There'll be plenty of space for the replays, but space for the live talk is limited. So if you want to join live, you must make sure that you register now. Okay. And then you'll get access to that. Of course, you get access to the replays as well. I hope you all have a fantastic week, everybody. And I'll see you back here next week at 1 o'clock. God bless you all. Bye bye.